When we think about time, we often imagine it as something fixed, ticking away evenly like the second hand of a clock. But the truth is far stranger and far more personal. Time isn't just out there, in the universe. It's also inside us, woven into our perception and memory. When you were a child, a single summer day could feel endless. The hours stretched out, heavy with adventure, discovery, and sheer novelty. Every sound, every smell, every new experience was encoded in the brain as a distinct event. Your mind was constantly building a dense mosaic of memories. And in that density, time itself seemed to expand. As we grow older, something subtle but profound begins to happen. Life becomes more predictable. Weeks and months blur together, filled with routines, obligations, and repetitions. When the brain encounters similar patterns over and over, it compresses these experiences into a kind of shorthand. Fewer unique markers are stored in memory, and as a result, years feel shorter. This is why, in retrospect, childhood summers seemed eternal, yet decades of adult life can feel like they pass in the blink of an eye. Feynman would have pointed out that this is not some flaw in perception. It is a fundamental feature of how humans encode reality. Our consciousness doesn't passively experience time, it actively interprets and measures it, and it does so with remarkable efficiency. It's fascinating to realize that this acceleration is not about clocks or calendars. It's about perspective. When we encounter something new, our brains are alert, attentive, and highly engaged. Novelty stretches our sense of time. When we repeat the same commute, the same meetings, the same routines, our brains switch into autopilot. Days pass without leaving a strong imprint, and so time seems to fly. There is a psychological elegance to this. The mind is economizing its resources, focusing attention where it matters most, conserving energy for moments that are truly unique. Yet in doing so, it reshapes our experience of existence itself. The disturbing part of this discovery is that life's apparent speed-up is inevitable unless we intervene consciously. Feynman loved to explore the ordinary and uncover extraordinary truths hidden within. Here, the lesson is clear. If you want to slow down your experience of time, seek novelty, embrace curiosity, and resist the dulling pull of routine. Pay attention to the small details, notice the textures of daily life, and allow yourself to see things as if for the first time. Time isn't racing, it's waiting for you to notice it. So the next time you feel the years slipping past, remember this. You hold the power to expand your lived experience. Time's velocity is not fixed. It bends to the richness of your perception. Live consciously, explore deeply, and make each moment count, because in the architecture of your mind, the minutes and hours you fill with wonder are the minutes and hours you will truly own. One of the most fascinating discoveries about how we experience time is the way our minds record it, and it all comes down to what I like to call memory density. When you look back at your life, the moments that stand out aren't the routine, everyday tasks. They are the vivid, novel, surprising events that your mind refuses to forget. A first kiss, a journey to a place you've never been, a conversation that shakes your perspective. These moments create rich, detailed memories. And here's the remarkable part. The more of these moments you have in a given period, the longer that period feels when you reflect on it. Time, in essence, stretches in proportion to the density of memories it leaves behind. As children, novelty saturates life. Every day is a new adventure. Walking to school, noticing a cloud shaped like a dragon, learning a new word. These experiences are encoded in the brain as distinct episodes. The brain isn't just recording events. It's building a vivid, intricate map of the world. That map is thick with information, so when we look back, the days feel expansive, almost eternal. Feynman loved pointing out the extraordinary in the ordinary, and this is one of those truths. The way our minds remember life changes our perception of its passage. As we grow older, life tends to become more repetitive. Days blur into one another. Commuting along the same route, repeating the same tasks at work, following familiar routines, all of this reduces the brain's memory density. Events are no longer unique, they become part of a generalized pattern. Our minds, efficient as ever, compress these repeated experiences into a kind of shorthand. The calendar keeps ticking at the same pace, but in our recollection, the months seem to pass in a blur. This is why decades of adulthood can feel shorter than the single summers of our youth. It's not that time has changed, it's that our memories have. The takeaway is both unsettling and empowering. The acceleration of time is not an immutable law, it is a reflection of how we engage with life. If we want our years to feel longer, if we want to resist the compression of lived experience, we must actively seek novelty. Travel to new places, learn new skills, meet new people, challenge your assumptions, embrace experiences that stretch your mind. The brain's memory density expands with engagement, curiosity, and wonder. In this way, you can make time feel both abundant and meaningful. So here is the quiet, profound truth. The richness of your memories shapes the rhythm of your life. Every moment of curiosity, every spark of discovery, every choice to notice something extraordinary in the ordinary slows time in the most human of ways. The calendar may advance at its relentless pace, but your mind can make life feel infinitely expansive. Memory is not just a record. It is the measure of a life fully lived. Fill it wisely. We often think of time as something entirely outside of us, ticking on clocks and calendars, but the truth is, it lives inside us just as much as it does outside. Our perception of time is intimately tied to the biology of our brains. As we age, changes in neural processing subtly alter the way we experience every moment. Think of it like this. Your brain is a vast orchestra of neurons, each firing signals that create the sense of awareness, attention, and memory. When you were young, that orchestra was vibrant, fast, and highly responsive. Every experience was rich, every moment freshly encoded. But over time, the tempo changes. Neural speed can slow, attention can waver, and the brain begins to process familiar routines more efficiently, but at the cost of perceived duration. Time feels faster because the internal clock of your mind is no longer registering every detail with the same intensity. Circadian rhythms, the daily cycles of alertness and rest, also play a role. When we're young, our bodies and minds are highly sensitive to fluctuations in these rhythms, making each day feel distinct and alive. As we age, those rhythms stabilize and become predictable. We operate on autopilot more than we realize. Feynman, who loved exploring the extraordinary in the ordinary, would remind us that this is not a flaw, but a feature of evolution. The brain is economizing. It is conserving energy, focusing attention on novelty, and pruning what is repetitive. But this efficiency comes with a side effect, a perception that time is slipping away ever faster. There's also the matter of attention. When we are fully absorbed in a task, time seems to expand or contract depending on the intensity of our focus. As adults, responsibilities and distractions fragment attention. Multitasking, schedules, and obligations prevent us from fully immersing in moments. Without that deep engagement, time seems to rush past, like water slipping through our fingers. The physics of consciousness, how our neural circuits encode duration, rhythm, and intensity, intersects here with our lived experience. It's a profound reminder that the passage of time is not purely external. It is a co-creation between the universe and our minds. This is both troubling and empowering. On the one hand, we cannot stop our neural clocks from changing. Biological processes will continue, and the years will accumulate. On the other hand, we can influence how we perceive them. Feynman often urged curiosity, observation, and active engagement with life. The more we pay attention, the more we notice, the more fully we immerse ourselves, the richer our neural encoding becomes. We can counteract some of the acceleration simply by being conscious participants, rather than passive observers of our lives. So, the lesson is clear. Time's perceived speed is not entirely out of your control. By engaging your mind, sharpening attention, and seeking moments that challenge and absorb you, you can stretch the interior clock of your experience. The body may age, neurons may slow, but your perception, your consciousness can expand, allowing each day to feel fuller, each year to feel longer, and each life to feel infinitely more vivid. Time is not only measured in seconds, but in the depth of your engagement with the world. The final piece of this puzzle is perhaps the most subtle, yet the most profound. Time is not just measured by clocks, routines, or neural circuits. It is measured by consciousness itself. Feynman constantly reminded us that the universe is not separate from the observer. Reality emerges in the interplay between what exists outside and what exists inside. Our awareness, our attention, and our reflection shape the way time is lived and remembered. When life becomes automatic, when we stop noticing, thinking, questioning, and marveling, the years seem to vanish. But when we remain conscious, fully awake to the richness around us, each moment gains weight, each hour acquires significance. Reflection, in particular, has a transformative effect. Looking back on a day, a month, or a year, the moments we remember are not the ones spent passively, but the ones we experienced fully. Conscious reflection creates a kind of temporal elasticity. It stretches what would otherwise be ordinary into something memorable, something lasting. Feynman would say this is the real power of curiosity. When you actively engage, when you explore not just the world but yourself, time ceases to be a relentless march. It becomes malleable, intimate, something you inhabit rather than endure. Yet there is a disturbing truth here. Most people live passively, letting life slip by, unaware of how perception shapes experience. They mistake the acceleration of years for the inevitability of loss, when in reality, much of it is a reflection of disengagement. The human mind has an extraordinary capacity to slow time, not through any external means, but through attention, awareness, and reflection. Novel experiences, mindful observation, and even deliberate contemplation of familiar events can expand the perceived length of life. Consciousness is not merely a witness, it is the architect of time in our minds. This insight is not merely philosophical, it is practical. The way to resist the feeling that life is accelerating is to cultivate curiosity, to notice the details, to approach each day as if it contains secrets yet to be discovered. Learn something new, explore new places, ask deeper questions, engage with people in meaningful ways. Even small acts of conscious presence, the way you observe a sunset, the way you savor a conversation, accumulate into a richer, denser tapestry of lived experience. In doing so, you reshape the rhythm of your days and reclaim control over how time flows for you. So here is the final truth, simple yet powerful: the speed of life is not fixed. Time may move relentlessly on the clock, but within the architecture of consciousness, it can stretch, expand, and even feel eternal. Each moment you fully inhabit is a moment you take back from the tyranny of routine, a moment in which life itself slows and opens. The challenge, the opportunity, is to live awake, to notice, to explore, to reflect. Time accelerates only when we sleepwalk through it. But when we are fully conscious, fully present, we bend its flow. And in bending it, we bend the very quality of our lives.